Hello, everybody out there in the internet. Welcome to Aimless Babbles, episode 415. I'm Chris Evans, Taken Master, joined by.
RPG Maniac 05.
And Trioptical.
So, yeah, today we've got some Whatcha been playing, a middle segment about fanboys have more fun, and I imagine the news. I didn't ask if we have news. Do we have news, Tropical?
The news.
And the news.
The news.
Okay, so Whatcha been playing? I think I'd only finished Devil May Cry 1 last time. So I am basically through 3, at the end of 4, ready for 5. Let's effing go, kill some demons, save the world, shut down evil, fun times, slow motion, stuff and things and stuff. Yeah, orbs, guns, ladies. No penis physics, unfortunately, but yeah, I am all caught up and ready to go. So, and Devil May Cry 3 was a very delicious game. Of yes, I can see why it is the super revered awesomeness that it is, because there were even more styles after that style I got that I was talking, or the styles that you start off with, and I did not know that was going to be a thing, and I was like, what? And that was magical, and it was, and I haven't had a chance to play with them, but I'm pretty sure they are fun to go through, since there's New Game Plus in that game. You can just go through it over and over and over and just watch, and just like beat up on all the things and kill all the things. It's great. And Devil May Cry 4 had not played that ever. I think I played 3, like the first area level or whatever, when I like bought it to make sure the game worked, but like I hadn't really played any more than that. I had played through 1, and then playing through 4, it's like a weird way that they structured it. It's like it kind of reminds me of like all the weird stuff that they do with like the current Resident Evils, where it's like you have the different paths that all the characters go through. Well, I guess it was like based off, well, not based off, but like the creator or like one of the main people in Devil May Cry or Resident Evil was like involved. So I guess that's like maybe how it has like that lineage. But you know, you like basically go through, get to the end with Nero, and it's like, oh, but now you get to play Dante, and it's like, wait, what? And then you go through basically all the other stages again, and it's like,
But
yeah,
backwards.
yeah, and
also, Dante's more awesome.
different
Throwing that out there.
stages. Or not different stages, but different areas, because you couldn't access them all as or not, you don't go through like the same areas, basically different versions, essentially, like different scenarios. So that was pretty neat. And then I ended up back at the main, or not main, but the big bad, and switched to Nero. So I think I'm close to the end, so I'll probably finish that up after the podcast. And I can put my printer in on the PSN and be like, alright, Devil May Cry 5, I am good to go and ready to play and do the thing. I would say I preferred Nero over Dante, though, like, even though, you know, he is the star, because I just like the arm thing where he pulls them and can throw them. The
Devil Bringer.
Devil Bringer, yes, that was I didn't want to say Devil Trigger because I was like, that's not it.
Well, that's
Devil
the
Grabber.
name of Dante's power, so...
But that was neat. But like, yeah, just man, it was neat because like he has a lot of the similar moves, but are not the same, and different controls, and then like the aerial abilities. But that was one thing that like kind of annoyed me, was like the enemies that can go airborne, because it's kind of hard to hit them when you're on the ground, and then like when you're in the air, you kind of have a limited moveset. So I was like, this is really annoying when you fight these dudes. But then I figured out that you just have to like shoot them and they fall down, and that's like way easier. And I was like, well, I have whatever this, and haha, I have got you now, flying enemies. Boss fights are fun and neat, and lots of weird monster and enemy designs, like the frog thing with like the sexy lady anglerfish thing. That was the whole thing. That was yeah. I imagine gamers' reaction when I was playing that section for sure. And then like the lady that Trish was disguised as in her very oh my goodness outfit, that was a throwback to that time. Especially since she like came in on a snow level, and I was like, ooh, New Sarkeesian saw this, she would not be happy. Ooh. But yeah, I very much have been enjoying the Devil May Cry series, revisiting it and just blowing through it. Not wasting time with that other game that starts with the D. I'm not going to say, oh, it said it, what? But,
Is it Destiny?
it is RPG. I haven't played in like a month. My sobriety... I mean, I will be playing it because I'm going back for a season of the Drifter, but like after that, I know I can like be free because it's been a month since I've played that garbage, and I haven't missed it. So yeah, so I've had fun playing other things, playing through them, completing them, and making progress, and enjoying my life and not hating myself and grinding my soul away and out of my body and just. So
Oh my.
I don't know what I've been playing besides that. So besides Devil May Cry, jackpot. Oh, also the cutscenes in 3, man, and just like the fights with Virgil and Dante. So satisfying. Just they were like, it was like a fighting game with like in like a 3D action game like combined, and just so good. You both have health bars and like you're trying to like whittle them down, and it's just like it's so climactic and like epic and just so good. And like kind of have like this very similar moves because you can double trigger too, and it's like oh man, and just so satisfying. But besides that, Monster Hunter World still hooked again. I should say, still at it. I made because the channel I looked at on YouTube to like get that build to kill. Oh, did I talk about the whole like destroying Archtimbered Kieran? Finally. Because that was the thing. I could never kill Archtimbered Kieran.
I don't think so.
And then I finally got the stuff to get the build made, and I was like, alright, let's try this, because that's the whole thing. Not the whole thing, but like the whole reason, or one of the reasons I've been trying to get this whole Bogan thing going. I was like, alright, we'll see how this goes. I've had no luck with like my main weaponry of longsword. I don't know how I can just like throw on a long Bogan and have it be super easy. And it was pretty kind of super easy, and I was like, what? I've been playing this game for over 500 hours, I come in with like a light Bogan and all this stuff, and it's just, I mean, sure, it was like not just the weapon, it was also the armor, because there's some pretty good perks on it. And, yeah, just, the day is saved, crisis averted, I was able to do it, and, looking forward to using all these other builds and all these other monsters I haven't been able to, or the Archtimbered one specifically, because everything else, except for like Archtimbered Valhalla, I'm just kind of, yeah, this is kicking the crap out of me. I need help. This is not working with longsword. Maybe heavy Bogan, light Bogan, and then I found something that worked, and I was like, okay, just gotta make these sweet builds with sweet perks and abilities and blah 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 blah. I haven't got around to it yet because they're all gone since Appreciation Fest is gone, but when they come back, they'll feel my wrath. So yeah, I've been doing that, and I'm back to doing the weekly limited bounties, as well as just trying to get more Zinni, because I want to augment all my armor and just upgrade it all, but that's really expensive, and you need a lot of materials, so currently in the process of doing that, besides making all the other sweet armor. What else? Oh, I guess since I made the, whatchamacallit, the blue barb. Since I was able to beat Kieran,
That weapon?
since I was finally able to beat Archtimbered Kieran, I was finally able to get the layered butterfly armor. So, not that I was like really looking forward to that one, because it's kind of lame. I'm just like, ew, this looks kind of ugly on my dude. Not as awesome as the sweet fancy pants suit I got on from Appreciation Fest. So meh. But yeah, it's one thing I have now I didn't have before. So yay to that. I played Bitters Novel 2. I didn't really play very much of it. I just played it one day before work when I had like a little time trying to get through Tofu Survivor. I didn't. Still haven't got through it. Got close, but no cigar.
Have you done the new? I think they were free DLC, right?
Yeah, they are.
The side stories.
Yeah, I haven't touched that yet. It was there when I booted it up, and I was like, oh, I forgot this was a thing, kind of. Need to go back to this. And I was like, yeah, but I'm enjoying myself not playing this, so... I will come back after Devil May Cry. Capcom has my time and money with that game now, so I will come back after Devil May Cry, and then everything will be cool. And then I'll try to get through that, because I still haven't beat Standard or Hardcore, because I am pretty behind on that game, because it was scary. And I was like, Taken needs a break, this game's scary, and like, kind of oh, what's the word? It just, kind of just drags, not drags. It's very oppressive. You play it a lot, and it's just like, ooh, I need a break from that, and I need a break because, man, that took like 8 hours, I think, per character. So like, or something. It took a long time to play through both characters. So I'm just like two scenarios, and I was like, I need to do all the other difficulties too. Ugh, and then like do them faster. So I need to like learn all the routes and paths, and just like, I think I'll come back to this. And let me take a breather here, and yeah, I'll see where I stand after that. Um. Besides that, Gran Turismo Sport every day still, and then they had the March update. I don't think there was a February update where they added some cars in a track or a couple courses. Well, not a couple courses. It's like a track that's like two versions of it, and they added the new Supra. That was cool. Miata, some McLarens, the really fancy Mercedes McLaren. That's like 100. I think it's 500,000 credits actually. Because I was like, what? This car's 500,000 credits? Not even like a. It's like a showroom car. I was like, this is very, very high end, even for a Mercedes. Some other stuff, but yeah, I played that. I think I'm almost at level 42. Yeah, 42. Because I think I'm like 41 now. Getting to 42. I'm very close on the courses for the all gold thingy for the every course where you like do each section and then you do like the time attack. I'm so close. I'm so close. I would have effing had it too if like I would have just did it before they added Nürburgring and Sarth, because man, those two are brutal. They're just so technical and hard. It's just like, dude, I do not want to get good with this game, but it's gonna push me to that point, so I guess I'm gonna do it. And then yeah, have not jumped online to get destroyed by all the real life Mario Andretti's out there. So yeah, that's I believe that's how they've been playing.
I spent basically the entire week playing Anthem.
No.
All of the technical issues you've heard of are true.
No.
Except for maybe the bricking of systems. So my system has like suddenly shut off twice.
What?
The first time I was leaving the game, so I was just gonna exit the game. And in the game you can, like Destiny, you can log out in Destiny and then it'll take you back to the main menu and then you can jump out of the game. But really there's no point, or it doesn't seem like there's any point. So usually with Destiny I just like hit, hold down the home button, close application, and then just like close it out. And I did that with Anthem, and I guess it was not happy. And suddenly I just heard this like clicking noise. I heard a clicking noise, and then it just shut off. And all the lights on my PlayStation were off, and I was like, "Oh, that's not good." And what was scarier is like I pushed the power button and it did the beeps, but it didn't come back on. And I was just like, is it dead? Did Anthem really kill my PlayStation? Well, it didn't.
Did it?
Not this time.
A few moments later, I tried it again and it turned on. And because I, have an external hard drive and all this stuff, like it has to do a whole bunch of different checks before you can start using it again. But yeah, for a moment I was like, oh my gosh, the system is like dead, broken dead. And that would have been really bad. Although I have so many backups that maybe the trauma is not as great as it is for other people. The second time I was trying to finish my quick play challenge. Like essentially after you've completed all of the side quests and the main campaign, obviously, they give you, I think it's sort of like a stopgap. It's not a very well thought out challenge, it feels like. It's just like a list of busy work, and it just says, okay, do this thing, and then, or it doesn't say what.
When you said that, all I was thinking was like, so like Destiny, Go do this. It will give you a reward. It won't be a nice reward, but it's something.
See, like Destiny feels like, well, I clearly am not as dedicated in Destiny, because I don't remember any of that. I don't remember it saying at the end. It was just like a laundry list. It was like, oh, just do these things, and then we'll get back to you when there's new stuff. That's kind of like that's what Anthem feels like with this one challenge. It's just like do 100 world events and 25 contracts and 25 strongholds and 25 quick plays. It's like where did you come up with these numbers? And it doesn't say what you get afterwards. So
That is a
it's just like
problem.
something like there. It feels like there are parts of the game that are just like stopgaps. Like they just ran out of time and they released it. And so in order to make it feel like there was something there, they're just like, okay, so we'll just tell them, do this thing over and over again, and then yeah. I don't know this for sure, but I think I read somewhere that they were gonna revamp the progression system and like progression reward system. And now that I've like studied the challenges, like, yeah, I kind of think this was like thrown together and gonna come up with something better later on.
Wow.
But anyway, so I was trying to do the quick play fill my quick play quota of 25 quick plays. And quick play is the one where you are randomly assigned to a mission that other people are in already, but they've like lost a squad member for one reason or another. Unfortunately, in the current state of Anthem, oftentimes people have lost a squad mate because the mission is broken and someone was smart enough to just abandon. And so you're often thrown into missions. It's got to be over 50%. Like quick plays, I need to do 25 of them. I've probably launched into at least 50 of them, with half of them being just like, oh, you're in this area. We're supposed to fight off the Dominion forces. But if you try, like, there's no end. They just keep spawning and spawning and spawning. The mission never progresses. And I've seen people. It's really funny. So the first time I came in, all three of the other people were downed, and I was like, "Oh no! Traptical to the rescue!" And I just like ran around and like killed a bunch of stuff, and then revived them all. And then they kept going down, and I was just like, "What is happening here?" And it took me a while to realize, oh, I think they were trying to kill themselves so that the mission would restart. But since voice chat is turned off, like, people join in and they don't know what's happening, and then like, yeah, your first thought every time you see someone down is like, oh, I gotta go revive that person. Yeah. And so I messed that one up. Maybe if I had done it, or no, later I found out even if you kill yourself, like, it doesn't reset it into a fixed state. It's still broken after it resets. It is weird and makes no sense to me.
So you
but
basically
anyway,
just have to get out of there.
yeah, you gotta leave it. Because one time we succeeded. So, yeah, after my experience saving people when they probably didn't want to be saved, I was like, okay, so in the future, if I come in and everyone is down, that is the sign to also go down.
Because otherwise, you're going to end up making things worse.
Right. And so one time I came in and everyone was down, and I started fighting, and then I looked around and was like, oh, wait, this is one of those. All right, let's do it. It's going to work this time. And so I like just let myself die, went down, was like, oh, squad wipe, and it reset. And it didn't fix it. It was like exactly the same thing. It's like, so yeah, the second time my console crashed was in one of these situations where I was sort of waiting. I was thinking, I was waiting for the other people to catch on and realize, oh, we're trying to wipe. Like, that's why those guys are down and not doing anything. They're trying to wipe. And so I was like down, and the guy was running around rescuing us, and then suddenly, choo, and my like PS4 just turned off. I was like,
No.
oh, again. But this time, you know,
not to the rescue.
it was the second time, so I was like, oh, probably hasn't broken my system, but yeah, I'll wait a few moments and turned it back on. I was like, yeah, it just like completely died again, but not to the point where I would need to switch PS4s. So yeah, that's on the technical side. Those issues remain. They haven't patched it quite quickly enough that it's all fixed now. Quick play is still just like a crapshoot. You don't know if you're ever gonna get a good one. Occasionally, though, like at least one of them, I joined, and the moment I joined in, because the load screens are so long, like the mission ended before I got into the mission.
Oh no.
And instead of just like kicking me back out, it kicked me to the scoreboard, and I got like 0 XP, but I got the like guaranteed masterwork item that you get for completing a legendary contract. And I was like, oh,
Nice.
so that was a legendary contract that I didn't have to play, but still got the masterwork. So that's great. Yeah, at this point, I have completed most all of the challenges, and now I'm doing things where it's like Call of Duty, where you use a specific weapon and get a certain number of kills, and then they give you the blueprints for that weapon, and then you can make your own, which you can make at like higher power levels. I've done at least the first level challenge for every single weapon in the game. And now I'm trying to do so there's like 2 machine like pistol type weapons that Colossuses can't use. So or Colossi, I don't know. They're like javelins. So I switched to another character, and I was like, I'll try Interceptor. I don't see very many Interceptors, and then it was quite an adjustment, not being so bulky and like you can take hits and stuff. You actually have to use the dodge button. Colossus doesn't have a dodge button. It's just a shield button.
A take damage button.
It's just like put up the shield. Yeah, someone I was talking to was saying like, oh, I like all of them except Colossus, because Colossus doesn't have a shield, so you have to like pick up health in order to not die. And I was like, well, I mean, Colossus does have a shield, except it's manual. Like you have to put it on manually, because it does recharge if you like put it away.
Yeah.
Oh man, Colossus is so fun. I figured out.
Just need to get good is all.
Yeah, I don't know if it's an exploit or not, but when you use melee, like melee has a cooldown for most of the javelins, I think. The interceptor one doesn't seem to, so you can like do melee combos, but the Colossus usually is you push triangle to like slam the ground once, and then there's like a short cooldown before you can do it again. With the shield though, you can put up the shield and then hit boost and like run into people, and that like knocks them down. And so oftentimes, so there's no cooldown for that. So if you're able to boost into someone and then stop immediately, you can boost into them, like back up a step and then boost into them again. And so if there's like a single enemy that's like giving us a lot of problems and like there's no one else shooting at me, I'll just like repeatedly boost into them. At the higher levels, at like Grandmaster 1, it takes probably 20-25 boosts to like kill them. But you can do it. since there's no cooldown, and since every boost like knocks them over, for the most part, like there's nothing they can do. They're just like they're just stun locked, and you just like boost meleeing them until they die. Yeah, again, I don't know if that. I guess it's not that overpowered.
I don't think it was a exploit because you could do it in the demo.
Okay.
Because that might have been intentional. Yeah, because there was one mission I was that I came in on, and there's like one of the, I guess I don't know what kind of elite thingy they were, but I just kept boosting into them because all my other stuff was busy. So I was like, well, I'll just keep ramming you until you die because this is really your life now. This is your life now.
It sounds like it's like would be like a skit on some sort of like improv show or something of like ramming speed, and like you just do it over and over because it's like you don't kill him in one hit. It's like, oh, okay, he's getting back up. Well, we don't have any weapons. Do it again. Ramming speed, and just like do it over and over.
Really funny. It's especially fun to do against like oh man, in the demo that this guy was there, it's like the flying scars that have the essentially Gatling guns, and they can kill you so fast. And so every time I see one of those, like, oh, that one's the priority. Like, that's the number one threat. It's gonna fly up and just like empty its bullets into you, and your allies are gonna die. So like, okay. And I found out like you can jump into the air and boost through the air with your shield.
You can.
And
you can do it on the water too. Everything.
Yeah, it knocks down.
Ram everything.
So I see them go into the air. It's like, oh, fly into the air, knock it down, turn around, and then repeatedly shield boost into them. Luckily, in the full game, you can get much more powerful. So now I'm at the point where Grandmaster 1 level is kind of trivial. When I started Grandmaster at like 400 power, it took, like, everything was a bullet sponge, and it just took forever. And like the stronghold that was in the beta that everyone says is the easiest, there's a part in the beginning where if you progress at all, like, everyone just gets taken out. There's just so many enemies coming from all directions, and they're all shooting at you, and it's just really crazy. So everyone sort of hangs back and tries to pick off one at a time until like there's a battle of attrition, and you're trying to like get in there inch by inch. Now I'm at 490 something, and yeah, it's just like I can run in there now and do my shield dash thing and all this sort of stuff. It's just like it's become really trivial. Unfortunately, Grandmaster 2 is like a huge spike in difficulty where once again everything is a bullet sponge, and I think if the teams were really coordinated, it wouldn't be too much of a problem. But yeah, for the most part, I've only played with randoms and without mics, so it's just like, who knows if everyone's doing occasionally you get lucky and everyone's doing the right thing, and then you can just like combo and just like take out giant groups of enemies with little to no effort. But yeah, if it's not like that and everyone has the wrong gear and all this, and
basically it's just chaos,
lighting everyone on fire, but no one is going down because no one has like the detonator for the combo. It's just like, oh, this is going to take forever. We can't take them down. Everyone has to empty all their bullets into them. Yeah, it's I still think it's, I guess what it is yeah, the core gameplay is more interesting to me than Destiny was. Even though I found Destiny really fun, I don't know, I just gravitated a lot more to PvP in that game. And so when it was down to like getting all these weapons that you guys had that were really good for certain raid sections, and those all required, doing lots of single player patrols and whatever the missions are called, I don't remember, and all that. It was like, no, I don't want to do any of that. I'm just gonna play Iron Banner. I'm just gonna play Crucible. But yeah, this one, even though there's only 3 strongholds, which was
Translation. I like fun. Those things, not fun. Not that. Have fun in grinding the fun out of the game. Take it.
like
Basically, yes.
you had to
RPG's like can confirm.
I played basically 0 strikes in Destiny 2.
Wow.
I don't know if I've played all of the strikes yet.
Probably not, 'cause they keep adding.
Okay, so yeah, probably not. I've played very few strikes. And then in this game, like, strongholds are the strike equivalents, basically. Although I don't think they're gonna have like raid equivalents in Anthem, where it like requires communication and all that. I think everything is gonna be match made. But yeah, like, there's only 3 strongholds, and only one of them is actually worth playing if you're just like grinding to get gear, because the other 2 are just like way harder, but you get rewarded for about the same. Yeah, even just playing that one stronghold it's because the team compositions are different every time, and because the players are different every time, is like, it feels different every time. So far I have not grown bored of it.
Want to know what didn't feel different every time? The Infinite Forest. Eh.
Yeah, that was a huge disappointment. They described it as something way different
it was
than
not.
they
It was not
misnamed
an
it.
Infinite Forest.
They should not have used that name.
They should have not called it that. The thing they called it.
Yeah.
Yes, by that logic.
So, but I have gotten to the point where there doesn't appear to be any new stuff anymore in Anthem. For a while, it was like every time I went back to the fort, there would be like new conversations with new characters, and I was like, oh, this is cool. And I would like go meet new characters and talk to them, and like some of the little stories are they're like pretty affecting, even though like nothing you do in the fort really changes the world. But yeah, even in that case, like, the stories can have an impact on you. And I was like, oh, I did not expect that. Like, there was one where you meet this old lady, and she's just like waiting in the like launch area near the market, and you talk to her, and she's like, oh, I've been waiting for my son here for like 10 years.
He's dead. He's dead, Jane.
You're like, oh, that's a long time. Like, where was he? And he was at like this fort that famously was like attacked and destroyed. And
Like I said, he's dead, Jane. He's dead.
oh, that's bad. And then like at some point when you talk to her, she's like delirious, I guess, and she thinks that you're her son, and you get to choose whether you like play along. Like, really, like, no, you're mistaken, lady. I'm not your
The
son.
troll old lady who's holding out for her sons. Oh, that's wonderful.
And the way it all plays out, I'm like, oh. And then there was another one that I feel pretty bad about. I feel like when I was doing it, it felt like I was doing the right thing, but then
It felt like I was doing the right thing.
the aftermath was just like, yeah, maybe I should have done the other thing.
Good.
So yeah, there's like pretty interesting stories with the characters who don't accompany you out into the field.
It's like, it's me, Mom. LOL, just kidding. He's dead. He's dead. But glad you played along all this time with me.
The way
Man,
that
I
one
think there's
turned out
actually
was
an
like,
episode of Cowboy Bebop like that. I think there's an episode where like or it goes in the show where there's like blind people and like they like don't know that you're that person, or they think you're that person, and there's like two episodes for like something happens and it's like, is that you? And it's like, oh, they don't know.
It is me. LOL's just kidding. Dead. Totally dead. I died.
Yeah, so for a while,
I died. Just respond with that. It's like, just kidding, I died.
LOL's. I would be the worst. The worst.
Just kidding, I died.
Remember that one time you
I
thought
am
I was alive?
and I'm the one that killed me.
Totally
it was
got
really
murdered in
neat too,
that
'cause, like,
campaign.
that part. So the dialogue choices are always like one thing or the other, and then you know how in Mass Effect they didn't write the entire like response.
Yeah,
It was just they like a bit of the feeling of the response.
Mm-hmm.
And for this one, it was pretty great how they wrote those like short descriptions because because in this one, I don't remember the exact wording, but like there were parts where they would write, the two choices, and they would seem like they weren't so straightforward. Like, oh, pretend you're her son, or like pretend or tell her you're not her son. It was things like, oh, if I could remember the wording, it would it would make a lot more sense. But they would be like nuanced responses, where it's like, oh, she'll say something like, I can't remember what it is, but like the responses felt nuanced, where you could sort of tell her the truth, but in a way that protects her from the truth in case she doesn't want to accept it. So like.
Yo, he did.
It was just really neat. I was like, oh, this is cool.
I have good news and I have bad news. The bad news is your son is dead. The good news is you're old, so you're probably gonna die soon too. So you don't have to live with it for that long. So sleep with that nugget in your life.
Yeah, you meet a bunch of characters in the game, and yeah, for a while it was like every time you go back from a mission, there'd be new dialogue, or there'd be like new characters that you could talk to, and it just felt like, in contrast to Destiny, where every time you go back, it's the same people saying kind of the same stuff. There was just like more and more people, and I was like, oh, this would be really neat if they like continued doing this throughout. Throughout the lifespan of Anthem, like every time they add more playable content like action playable content, they could also add more.
Oh my gosh,
story content.
That is literally better than Destiny, because like some expansions, it's like they're in a patrol zone that is not the tower, and you have to go back to them. But then you also need to go to the tower, and it's like, dude, I don't want to go to Amanda Bray and Mars because I go to the tower, and it's like, oh, gotta go to Amanda, oh, gotta go to Osiris on Mercury because he's not in the tower, and it's just like, dude, just put all the Vanguard characters in Tower Place. The Tower Place? No? Okay. Whatever.
Isn't there wireless communication in this world?
You would think. I mean, with all the advanced technology.
They can't gift you a loot drop through wireless communication. That's a face-to-face.
Why can't they? I mean, you can teleport out of basically
also,
everywhere.
Like, you're telling me that the guns are in those glowing jelly balls?
Well, they have to be decrypted by the cryptarch optical.
They crack them open, and it's like, oh, look! A pistol!
Look. It's a box of chocolates.
Look at that!
From our
How did it get in there?
Like, you're asking too many questions. You're asking too many questions. It's like, so basically what you're saying is all I had to do is just break this thing on a rock and I could have got my gun? What did I have to come to you for? You're asking too many.
Master Cryptarch too. Give me a hammer.
And yes, a new Cryptarch was born.
But yeah, so that story content seems to have dried up. Most of the challenges are done. Now it really is like the contracts are, imagine like a series of patrols. It's kind of like that. So you get like 3 or 4 of them, and that's like one contract that you do.
Ew.
And then There's like legendary versions of those, which don't. I guess they're supposed to be harder, but they don't seem that much harder. And then the strongholds. So it's just like a few things. So now, like, I kind of see it's like, okay, yeah, it is a few things. Like, I can tolerate it. It doesn't feel like I'm just like grinding away, but objectively, like 9 different missions in the end game is a small number. Oh, and then yeah, well, sort of an aside, like going back to quick play, occasionally, or what I've been hoping is that I will get dumped into a team that is currently playing the mission that my cutscenes didn't play in, so that I can see the story cutscenes, because there's no way to go back and replay the story unless you start a new pilot.
Ooh.
So, pivotal, probably the biggest pivotal moment in the campaign, I didn't see it because
That was one of my noises with
Oh.
Borderlands was that as well. It was like there'd be some like super important dialogue while you're like in the mission, and like so much is going on that you can't really hear, see, or focus on it, or it gets interrupted by something else when someone like activates another side quest, and it's like, dude.
I didn't know what was going on with the Bloodwing thing until I played it a second time at a much later date. And I was like, oh, that's what that was.
It all makes sense now.
Yeah, that's why he was so mad. That's where Bloodwing went. Yeah, so far I'm like hopeful that it will improve greatly over time.
That doesn't.
I
So
really
really
hope
cool
they
when
add
you
more.
say something like that. Where is your bar? Like, do you just be like, oh, they're just gonna make it's gonna be like Destiny, or like, oh, it's gonna be better, even better than Destiny did when they had like all that stuff that they rolled out a year later.
Well, so from what I understand of game development, like games don't really come together until the very end. Like, think of the best games you can imagine. Like a few months before
Mass Effect.
like that, it was like totally broken because lots of things weren't in yet. So, but then once everything was in, and then they tuned them to all work together. Like you can't tune all the systems to work together and before the systems all exist. And
If you
so,
try hard enough, you can.
yeah, like the systems don't exist until the very end. And so, like, knowing that, looking at Anthem, it feels like this is, this is like right around the end part. So after a bit more tuning, it should be pretty great. There are like aspects of it that I like a lot, and there are aspirational parts of it too, or like the thing with more story in the tower or in the fort. Like I think that would be a really neat addition. I don't know if that's something that they're gonna do, but like that seems like a relatively simple thing that I guess would mostly cost money because you got to hire people to like be voice actors and animate and stuff. But
Just make the
yeah,
team's family do it or something.
do the cool thing. And then just having them, they laid out their roadmap of like the new stuff.
Oh, that's my new least favorite word in game development.
Roadmap. Yeah.
It has replaced launch window to like the ire.
season
It
pass.
raises when I hear it. Yes, it's like, oh, we have a development roadmap. It's like, wait, so you needed more road and you didn't just delay the game? Whatever you say, developer. Games at service.
See, for me with Anthem, like I think that if it wasn't broken, then the amount of stuff that's in there right now would be fine.
It's a very
Like the main issue is that it's really broken in some ways. Getting connection disconnected like often, turning off my system for no reason, without my permission.
That usually
And
that tends to not make a lot of people
Hey,
happy.
I
This
didn't want you to do
play.
that.
That tends to ruffle a few feathers. Yes.
endless quick play, borked missions.
I'll try to call this is sounding like a negative review or something.
Yeah, like all those things are terrible. Like if those things had all been fixed, then content wise, I think that it would have been enough. It feels like a complete sort
So
of
if the game was
thing.
amazing, it would have been amazing.
No, if like the
Good
game
to know, Toptical.
if the game had been technically perfect or not even that much, like if the game was like 95% technically perfect, then I think it would have been fine.
I completely understand what you're talking
But
about.
it's like 60% technically okay.
The problem.
That's like the biggest problem for me.
Because I mean, that's what I mentioned, or that's what one of the issues was before, with like the Last Remnants, like stuff like that, where it's like the main issue is like the technical performance. It's like, man, if this game worked, great.
Yeah, it would be really great. And
Here
it
we
doesn't
are.
even have to work like 100%. Like Shadow of the Colossus back in the day did not work 100%, but it worked enough that it was like, oh, this is really good. This is kind of like that, except it doesn't even. I don't think it works barely enough, just enough that it's like, oh yeah, I can see the potential. If this didn't keep happening, and if this didn't keep happening, and if this didn't keep happening, and if this didn't keep happening, then I think this would be pretty good. In that world, then sort of their roadmap would be pretty exciting. Because like we went into it. I went into it knowing that it was going to be a game as service, so that they were going to add more stuff to it, and then so having a complete campaign that felt complete, but also left room for life to continue afterwards. And then knowing that more stuff is coming very soon, compared to we just keep comparing it to Destiny, but like Destiny, it really was. There were often times where you're just like, okay, we've played through all the stuff. We don't know when more stuff is coming, or we kind of know when more stuff is coming, but we don't know how substantial it's going to be. And just like there was all these questions, and every time it sort of like disappointed. Yeah, that could happen with Anthem too, but so far it's just like, oh, look, they're saying there's going to be new free play events. So that's exciting to me because like free play has been pretty fun. I don't know if I've played all the variations of the events, but if there's going to be more of them, that is a good thing. And they're going to add more legendary missions, which are missions is what they use for like campaign stuff, and that starts fairly soon. It's like, oh, so there's going to be more story stuff. It's like that's cool. So that's good. And then there's going to be in May, I think they said, it's like the first Cataclysm, which is
Oh my, that sounds.
I guess a raid
disruptive.
type thing, or like a bigger stronghold thing. So there's like interesting, potentially very exciting stuff coming in the future. I think right now, though, like rightly so, a lot of people are just like, "Well, fix it, fix it," and then we can talk about more.
Yeah. That is kind of a big thing.
Yeah, it would be much nicer if it. Like I think they've improved it quite a bit so far. Now it really is at the 60% point. I can't imagine like the early access week. I think if I had played it during that time, then maybe I would be less enthused about the game at this point. apparently load times were longer than they are now, and they're not short any. They're not short now, but they're not.
They're not hella long.
Yeah, basically. Although maybe they tricked me psychologically with the bait. I showed me infinite load times.
It's true. I was about to say, it's like, well,
rather than infinite load times.
It's like, considering there's times you got stuck at a screen for like a half hour, it's like, well, guess this is better than nothing. They did that intentionally. They're like, guys, we have to make sure our game is super broken in the demo, so that means when they get the real one, they're like, all right, I mean, I guess it's not that bad.
So much better.
So, I mean...
So yeah, maybe they tricked me. But no, I definitely, like, the first few days, I think only the first 2 days, like, the load times were quite long, and I talked about how every time I ended a mission, I had that choice that I had to play out in my head, that, well, this one loads the longest, but I will probably end up where I'm trying to go. This one I think loads shorter, but sometimes it doesn't work, and then it just kicks me back to the longest load, which means I would load 2 times. And you never want to go to this one, because if you exit that, like, it does load the fastest, but then if you exit it, you can't go into a mission directly. You got to go to the longest load time. And I was just like sitting there, like, which one do I choose? I don't know. I just want to go to the next mission as quickly as possible.
This is video games in the darkest timeline.
But then, yeah, like, after, I think, the second patch, like, I would just be like, whatever. I don't want to think about it anymore. It's too stressful. And I'll just, like, pick the longest loading time one. And then it seemed kind of tolerable. It's like, huh, I think loading times are shorter now. So now it's like, oh.
Reached acceptance.
I think the first day, really, I was the thought popped into my mind, is like, is Anthem the healthiest video game out right now? Because, like, after every mission, you might as well stand up and walk around and, like,
do stuff, you know?
Do stuff, because you're gonna have to wait anyways. Might as well, get some exercise.
It's like, go live your life, man. Because, yeah,
pretty much.
You go be here for a while.
In those load times, the first 2 days. Yes. Yeah, I'm not down on Anthem yet. I think
well,
it's
that's because it's you.
Pretty good, despite the flaws.
If it was a normal person, he'd be like, hard pass.
Gamer, Dagger, and Seth have put in a lot of time still, or Gamer less so in the last week, because you get coins every week depending on how much your friends play. And so, like, the level cap is 30, but then afterwards your XP goes towards, like, your alliance level, I guess. And then every week that resets. So that level caps at 10. And then if you get to 10, you get and receive, I think. No, wait, get and receive are the same. You send and receive or an increased amount of coins, which you can use for buying customizations and various other stuff. And yeah, like, they had, I think everyone was level 10. It's been 2 weeks. Everyone has been level 10 for 2 weeks. So, yeah.
Good job, team.
Doing well. The system also works if they're not. It, like, just takes the top 5 contributors on either your friends list or people you've played with recently. So no one is just left with
nothing. Yeah.
I suppose
like, you have no friends, so you get nothing.
If you set it to private and you never play, if you go through everything single player, then you're not getting any. But
make some friends, you peon. It's like, oh god. Stranger danger, though. Stranger danger.
So this all started when RPG invited me to the beta for Anthem.
I'm his pusher.
After the beta ended, I was sort of like, you know what? I do want to play these games as services. Let's do it. And so I went out and I pre-ordered Anthem myself, and I also pre-ordered The Division 2.
The first taste is free.
Oh yeah, I think I talked about this because
Oh my gosh.
middle of last month, I thought that the Division 2 was coming out on the 15th, but it was the wrong month. But yeah, so finally the Division had 2 betas, and the second one was this past weekend. And I played in both of them, but I played almost none in the first one. And then this one, I had completed mostly what I wanted to do in Anthem. And I heard that there's certain rewards that carry over from the beta into the full game. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to spend some time and finish these tasks in the Division 2. So, essentially, this was the first weekend where I actually paid attention to it. And because the first beta weekend, I just was like, I played the Division recently. I don't want to read anything and learn what the new systems are. I'm just going to run around and shoot stuff.
Oh, dear.
And that's what I did. And so I just had no understanding of anything in the Division 2 until this weekend when I played it. I was like, oh, there's the gear is different now. And somehow I noticed that this second beta, they re-added more elements, and it just felt very smooth. And I think compared to the Division 1, Division 2 is a true sequel. Not like Destiny and Destiny 2.
Ooh,
Division
optical.
1
Aw.
and Division 2 is
my.
is a true sequel. Everything feels improved.
Rude.
They've done movement feels smoother. You don't feel quite as bulky, although you're not wearing a huge winter jacket anymore because it's taking place in Washington D.C. a few months later, rather than New York in the winter. So yeah, everything feels a bit better than the first game, and then also. You know how when people talk about cover shooters, it's you walk into sort of a square boxy room and you see all these square boxes that are about waist height, and you're like, oh, there's going to be a fight here. The environments in the Division 2 feel much more organic. So you still have, very obvious cover points and stuff, but instead of being very boxy and just sort of having all the cover be parallel. And
Your
stuff
description for your environment's very boxy.
They were in the Division 1. It always felt like you were fighting. All the cover felt like it was parallel to each other. So you would be behind cover, and then across the way, there would be another cover parallel to yours, and then the bad guys would be on the other side of that one. And you'd just be shooting across this sort of shooting range, essentially.
It's not their fault they were prepared for these exact moments to happen.
Well, I guess also because New York is more of a a very grid-based city. Yeah, the environments in the Division 2 feel a lot more natural and more interesting because, oftentimes you'll be in rooms that are rounded, and so everything will be not displayed. Everything will be placed in a less parallel covers. There'd be rounded corners and crescent-shaped sofas essentially that you'll have to sort of position yourselves to avoid getting hit from like odd angles because like not everything is sort of in this grid pattern anymore. It's pretty neat. They also made like the enemies feel more interesting to engage because they have, I guess the different factions will have very different behaviors. There'll be groups that like really like to flank you, and there'll be groups that hunker down, and there'll be groups that use a lot of gadgets and stuff.
So in
And
the first division, it wasn't like that. There were just different enemy types for each faction, essentially. Because that's what it seemed like from Division 1, but I never played it, so...
Division 1, it like they were different. Yeah, so like there was a group in the Division 1 that was all about like burning stuff. So they all had flamethrowers,
Sounds
but they
cool.
also had guns too. And so occasionally, if they're using their guns, then they were doing what all the other ones in the game were doing. But if they're using their flamethrowers, they would like just basically walk out from behind cover and walk towards you, and then like set you on fire or try to. But yeah, oftentimes in the Division 1, it always felt like I could just sort of choose the cover of my choice and then kind of stay there and just like pop up and take everyone out. In this one, it felt like I had to move around a lot more to avoid everything that was going on. And then then I would find myself in like weird positions because the rooms aren't so boxy. And so I just I
I
found
think that's
myself
my
in cover
favorite word of the week. These boxy rooms.
boxy rooms. Yeah, and then I just like, oh, this is a really bad position because like I'm in cover, but I can't see where the other guys are because this is not a rectangular room. They're like over there in this rounded sort of hallway type shape. It feels a lot more dynamic and like exciting compared to the first game. Also, the sort of special gear equipment stuff is less automated. So by the end of the Division 1, I was using a seeker mine, which was like a little ball that you just put down on the ground, and then it automatically goes and like finds enemies to chase after and kill them. And then a turret, like a deployable turret that I could just throw anywhere, and it would deploy, and then it would just like sit there and machine gun people to death. So far, the gear I've tried in the second game, the Seeker Mine, you can't throw it anymore, it seems like. You can only put it down next to you, and then you gotta tell it where to go. And then it'll like go to wherever you say and do... there's like various versions, like modification, or various versions of the Seeker Mine now, and they all do different things, but it feels more manual than it used to be. The turret, I had tried like a sniper turret, which it doesn't shoot unless on command. It's like, oh, everything is sort of on command now. So also makes it a bit more difficult. I was playing the Division 1 very lazily by the end. I was just like, throw the turret, throw the Seeker Mine, and then just kind of wait for them to take out a bunch of guys, and then pop up and take out the stragglers. Now it's like, oh, now I gotta be active and like control and command all these things. But yeah, I guess it is more fun. And then finally, the Dark Zone. You heard my Dark Zone story in the Division 1. I died instantly. And since then, I've never been back to the Dark Zone. In the second one, there is a nice, like, intro single-player Dark Zone introduction mission that like lets you into the dark zone, and I guess there's no other players in it in this version. So you just sort of walk around, and it tells you like, oh, you can find better equipment in here, but it's really dangerous because other people will like you got to extract it by helicopter, and then when the helicopter comes, that tells everyone, hey, there's equipment being extracted over here, and then they'll all rush you and try to take your stuff. And you get to see all of that, like, or you get to play all of that before you enter a PvP type environment. I'm assuming because I only played the introductory mission. But yeah, I was just like, it's like, oh, my first real visit to a dark zone. I actually got to see what this is all about. This is pretty neat. I might actually do this. I think, yeah, because the first one didn't really have that. That might be why, I didn't even desire going into the dark zone. I was just like, why would I do that? There's nothing for me there. There's just instant death. But the second one, now having experience is like, oh, maybe this could be kind of cool. Maybe I will do this.
But he didn't say the narrator. He did.
I guess we'll see next week. Yeah, what else? Is there anything else? I don't know. I don't think so. I think, yeah, both of those. I'm glad that I finished the campaign for Anthem before the Division comes out tomorrow or next week, because I think I am gonna play some of that and check it out, and then yeah, I will be well.
Oh no,
Hopefully.
Tropical loves it now. No.
I will get to live in these two worlds.
Yeah, I was thinking about that recently. As like games of service are kind of like your forever game. It's like you're kind of just like stuck. I mean, you're not stuck, but like if you choose to just play that one game, you will be like only playing that game for a very long time.
I mean, I suppose it's not that bad. Well,
It's kind of like Starship Troopers. It's like, until you die or you find something better. It's like,
yeah.
you're kind of just stuck.
I think what really happened with Destiny, though, is like there was sort of obligation early on when I was able to meet it. It was like, oh, if you're able to meet your obligation, you can go on the raid. And it's like, the raid is fun. You get to
For
go with
only
people.
9
And
hours a week. Or every 90 hours a month.
you talk about weird stuff.
This
and
is your life now.
1555
get to play it.
Destiny.
But then with Anthem, like so far, I don't feel like there's no obligation to play it. It's just like self-driven. Well, two. One self-driven is like, ooh, I want to see how powerful I can get, because you can do, once you're powerful, you get to do ridiculous stuff, and Destiny doesn't really have that. You're just, you get powerful, and then the enemies get more powerful, and then you're just like, well, you're relatively kind of the same. But this one, Anthem, it's like, oh, now we can just like, in the beginning we would all be running from this giant group of scorpions during the boss fight, and now it's just like we spawn kill all of them in like less than a minute, and that's so cool. And now let's try to do, maybe we can get powerful enough that we can do that in Grandmaster 2. Wouldn't that be awesome? And so like that's why I'm playing for gear. But the other reason is there's not very many cosmetics that you can buy right now. And because you get to see everyone's javelins so much, not in a competitive environment, just like everyone working together, then you kind of want to stand out. You want to have the unique javelin as much as possible. And yeah, so that's the other reason I'm playing. But since there's not very many to pull buy, there's not too much reason to grind for coins or anything in order to get that stuff. The Division, I guess ever since what was the first Ghost Recon on 360?
Advanced Warfighter.
Was it Advanced Warfighter?
Yeah, it's a launch
Yeah,
pad.
like since that one, I've thought that this type of game is really cool. And so from those two and like Future Soldier and then like the later Splinter Cells and yeah, the Division is like it's a similar type game. And then I also like the base building. Base building is really fun for me. And this one, Division 2, seems to have very, very complicated base building. It's like, oh, this looks interesting, so that part should be pretty fun. But then, yeah, as far as, like, I don't even know anyone else who's getting the Division 2. Anthem, I know people who play, but, yeah, I haven't played with any of them yet. Maybe when stuff gets really, maybe we want to try play, like, really tough stuff.
Oh yeah, Josh, I was going to ask about the on Anthem. Is it still a bunch of storms running around, like in the beta?
Um,
Or is there more variety now in the
I
full version?
guess not. Yeah, it feels pretty balanced. Like, storms. People are saying, oh, that it's supposed to be glass cannon, but they're like not glass. They're like iron cannons. Not actually true. Maybe at the normal difficulty levels, you feel like, what's the point of playing any of the other classes? You can just destroy everything yourself in a storm. But yeah, at the higher levels, like storms go down a lot, really easily, like super fast, and I'll just be standing around healing them without my shield out, and I'll be able to take like lots of fire um, before I go down. So I'm able, like, you see lots of
Good
people
scrubs.
thanking Colossi. They call them the thick boys. It's like, thank you for, single-handedly reviving our squads over and over again. So Colossus has found its place. Rangers, I think, they have a lot of explosive attacks, which are pretty fun. And then Interceptor is pretty different, but pretty cool if you can swing it. So yeah, so far, I think Interceptors I see the least of because they really are squishy. But yeah, it hasn't been all storms. I don't remember if like all gear was unlocked in the beta. Because in the full game, every class has, or every javelin has like gear that they can do their own combos with, and some of them are like ridiculously effective. Before people were talking about Storm, like you're just throwing random attacks, and it's just like combo, 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 combo. Yeah, you can do that with Storm, but with the Colossus, if you figure it out, then you can also do that. You just have to pick the right gear. The one I like is it's like a shoulder-mounted lightning cannon, I guess. And then, well, before I was using the flamethrower because you could just like light a whole bunch of people on fire and then hit them with the shock burst, and that like combos everybody. Especially because the Colossus, every time you do a combo, there's like an elemental explosion in addition to like the combo damage. And yeah, like the groups, if they're bunched together, you can take them out so quickly once you figure out the combo system. So, no, it's not all storms.
Yay! The noobs got good.
I haven't even played Storm yet. I've played just the two. Ranger was like, it's okay.
I think
I'm just
Ranger
gonna
was
use
meant to be the kind of like the all-around type of javelin guy person, because the other three seem more specialized.
Eventually I will. But yeah, right now I don't see any. I'm mostly just trying to max out my tank. Or finish all the challenges and then max out my tank.
Hmm, maybe for Anthem 2. 10-year
Ah,
plan.
I hope they're not thinking about that.
10-year plan.
That would be very, very annoying.
Destiny says hi.
Ah. They should not have made a sequel. They should have carried over the first one.
I think it probably would have been more beneficial to like not announce the 10-year plan and then just like
Yeah.
after
And
it's all
just
done, be
did
like,
stuff.
man, guys, we did that for
Yeah.
10 years. What a ride. 'Cause now it's like every other game is just like, ugh. You just feel the weight of like, you know what? At least I do. I've been down this road, and I've done my time. So time served. You know, thanks.
It's like, what? I have 3 more years of this? Ugh.
Destiny ruined all. Destiny, if this is the future of games, then Destiny has ruined all games for you.
Because now no one can be trusted.
I wish one of these would be like Ready Player One, where there's sort of unique items in the world, and then you can be, if you find it, you can be like a god in the world.
Pretty cool.
That would be interesting to see, like, this race to get these special artifacts and stuff and be
Yeah.
like this super player. But because you don't know what items are where, you just end up with, you have to like just get accustomed to whatever souped up power you get, kind of thing.
Yeah. Because back in the day, I used to play a MUD. It was like a text-based, essentially text-based Warcraft. It was called Arcanum. And a bunch of people I knew were already playing it. And like when I got on, they're like, "Oh, cool! We'll just go get you the best stuff." And it was like a scalpel was the best weapon. If you like enchanted it with poison, and then you like dual wielded them.
I don't think that's.
It was extremely powerful, apparently. But it was just like, I didn't like the fact that there was sort of people had figured out like the min max of everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you have to build like this in order to maximize yourself. There was like one solution. And yeah, like Destiny was like that too, where it was like,
Yeah,
oh,
Yeah, I
you
was
need
gonna say
to
Destiny was like
get
that
this
too. That's why I was like, you either have Galahorn or that scout rifle or GTFO, basically, because people are
Yeah.
like, I'm not playing with you.
Like people were just like, once one person figured out a way to get it, or figured out the way to get it, then everyone had to do that thing. And I was like, well, that's not cool.
Like, where's the fun in this?
Yeah, it would be cool if it was like Ready Player One, where it's like the person who figured out how to get it is the only one to have it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I got this thing, and then, now everyone else is just like second rate, and they have, if they run into this guy.
So they find their own artifact, basically.
Yeah, you find your own artifact, or like, it means different tactics in the Crucible. Like if you go into a Crucible game and one guy on the other team has like the ultimate
It's like, oh no, it's him.
thing, then it's like, oh,
Legends have been
cool,
told
actually.
about
Totally
him.
different.
You get cool. You get
That's what
killed,
I
and
was
it's like a name's opening, and you're like, oh no, I have no chance.
It's a legendary weapon.
It's like, oh gosh.
So then you would do like what I do.
Like when the first Mythic class kind of dropped, and it was just like, oh no, the one guy has it. The one guy has it. Panic. Yeah, that would actually be cool if they had games like that.
Really
I mean, even if it was like PvE or PvP, like that'd be kind of cool, because then it's like, let me scour this world and see if I can find some kind of cool thing. Because that would make things interesting. Although I wonder how. I mean, I feel like that would be like a nightmare for the development team, to try to develop a game like that. It's like, oh, now we have to plan for every occurrence of this possibly happening, and then somebody getting this, and then if somebody has this and this combos with this, it'd be oh gosh.
I remember with it. But like, that sort of emergent stuff is really cool. Like if they can figure out the systems. we're going to go into Aimless territory for a bit. There was a story recently.
Welcome.
Elite Dangerous, which is that like space trader / fighter sim. People have been doing a challenge where like they load up on fuel and they fly away from our solar system and try to get as far as they can go on like essentially sublight speeds. Because in the world of Elite Dangerous, you can only jump to places that have been mapped. And if you want to go into uncharted space, then you can only fly there in real time.
Fly to it.
Yeah. And so someone got, I think they were out like 3 days.
My.
And they miscalculated the fuel they needed to jump back home.
Oh man,
no.
that is
So they were
no.
stranded in space.
that would be terrible.
Oh no!
And yeah, Elite Dangerous, like, that is your character. There's no way back. You're just like out there.
Well,
One way.
I live here now.
Suicide.
This is my home.
And so what happened was like there's a group in Elite Dangerous like of players, and their mission is basically they rescue stranded ships who are trying to beat these like distance records. So they had to like essentially do sort of a what's that thing where you pass the bucket of water down to the next person?
It's kind of like the baton pass
bucket brigade?
sort of
Yeah.
thing.
You know, they were trying to get fuel out to this guy so that he could jump back to a charted system. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. Like, but what happens if they get stuck out there?
I just about to say, I was like, so what happens if they get stranded in the process? Like, is there just a bunch of ships floating around in space not being able, just like, so, how you doing? Well, kinda just stranded in space, because, I mean, thanks for the rescue attempt, but, yeah. Guess, this is our life now. Guess this is our life now.
Yeah, like stuff like that is neat. It's like Eve Online's weird, stories where like a guy infiltrated someone else's corporation and then stole all their money, or how like monthly subscriptions in Eve are a physical item that you can have in the game, and someone had a whole bunch of them on a transfer.
What?
I
And then
just-
I didn't know
someone
that.
else like destroyed them.
What?
Oh, no.
Wow,
It's like-
that's intense.
Could you imagine like somebody being like a power broker in these games with this like, well, I have this membership. I could sell it back to you, but it'll come at a cost. But I mean, that's cool that there are games that exist that you can do stuff like that, though. I mean, if there were more games out there like that, I mean, people would probably be more willing to play video games.
Yeah,
Yes,
I think that
it's-
stuff is really cool.
It's pretty neat. But I mean, I guess the problem is like in some cases for games now at this point, at least for the console stuff, it's like you have to be like mainstream in a sense. So it's like a lot of them like end up copying each other, so you miss out on stuff like the Elite Dangerouses or the Eve Onlines, or they're doing like where you could do these kinds of things, because everybody's kind of like copying each other, but then they're just tweaking like one small thing, and it's like, so it's like, no, we're different. See, we got this one thing, that you can do. So it's kind of sad.
That'd be amazing.
It's a race to get that Fortnite money.
Fortnite. So anyway, that's what I've been playing.
Wonderful, because I have played nothing. So there you go,
Oh.
guys. I was sick for like half the week, so there was that.
In that case, I'll tell a short story about something we talked about before. I don't know if it was on air. Did I ask, like, do you think anyone has gotten all the characters in Street Fighter V
Yeah.
just by grinding
You did.
I don't know if
on
was it
air?
Air though.
I don't know if it was
think
on
it was
air.
off
We
because
were talking about free to play, and then You're like, yeah, that's why that
Okay.
game should have been free to play, is because there's nobody
Yeah.
that got all those
Oh,
games just from buy money.
Well, it turns out there are people who have gotten all of them with just fight money.
oh dear.
The fight money is easier to come by than I thought, which means that the game just isn't explained very well. um, they've changed it since, but yeah, like apparently it was fairly easy to get 5 DLC characters in the first season just with fight money. And I read that, I was like,
But
"What? No,
how?
that's impossible." But no, it was like if you played through everyone's story mode, which is like it takes like 2 or 3 minutes because they're really easy and short. And then you played through the like campaign cinematic story mode. You play through it twice, and then you play through the trials for each person. Then you played the demonstrations for each character, and those are like demonstrations are like trials that you don't play. They're just like automatic, and they explain things to you. And then survival mode on easy, or no, survival mode on easy and normal for each character. And it was something like 16 characters at the beginning. You did all this stuff, and you would end up with like 500,000 some fight money.
Hmm.
And I was just like, Really? What?" And then, yeah, since 500,000 on fight money is enough to buy 5 characters, then you do those tasks again with those new 5 characters, and then you have enough for the 6th one. Yeah, and I was just like, this can't be true. And well, it's not true anymore. They changed it in Arcade Edition, but in Arcade Edition, you can also do it, especially if you bought Arcade Edition, because that came with 28 characters. And even though the payouts are lower because they've added sort of like weekly payouts, rather than like all the single like one-time payouts, now it's like mostly based on leveling the characters. But yeah, doing all that stuff for each of the 28 characters gets you 500,000 some fight money, and then that lets you buy all the characters from season 5 or season 3, the current one, and then you do it again, and then you have enough to buy the 6th one. I was just like, no, really, and I tried some of it. It's like, wow, it actually is working exactly as described. It's like, I can't believe this. So yes, apparently there are people who have done it, and it took them like in season 1, it took them like 30 hours, like
Wow, that's
way faster than I imagined.
a decent amount of time though for a fighting game. Let's
Yeah, that's
say.
a lot of time for a fighting game because like a round is what, 50 seconds, a minute.
Limited to max 99 seconds at most. Yeah. Yeah.
But no, I initially thought, oh, it's like the 50 fight money you get for winning online, and you don't get anything for losing, so you gotta win whatever 100,000 divided by 50 is.
Basically
Like,
forever.
no, 10,000 divided by 5 is that 2,000? 2,000. You gotta win 2,000 games.
Is that all?
Is that all? It talks now when you play online. It
It
told
does.
me that I had won 16 games and lost 34.
Oh. Whoops.
So, yeah, 2,000 is a long, like basically unimaginably far away. But no, apparently I don't have to do that. All right. Well, since that story is done, we'll do the quick second week of the new RRR, weekly RRRs. Basically, rapid release responses. We talk about what the game is in 10 words or less, or no, in 10 words exactly. And then we give a A or a no, depending on whether it sounds interesting or not. Or if, in most cases, whether or not they wasted all their words on putting the title into their description. So we got 2 dates with games releasing in the next week. First one is March 8th, Devil May Cry 5.
Woo!
Yay!
I'm not
Legendary
excited.
DMC action returns, made all the more stylish by...
I mean, we all already know what Devil May Cry
Yeah,
is. So it's...
definitely gonna get that. But does that sound interesting? I suppose so, since we all know what DMC is, so... Devil May Cry.
But yes,
March
I am excited. Although I'm not excited about these Friday release dates, though.
Whatever will we do on Wednesdays now? I guess just
Right?
podcast.
I have no.
March 12th is next Tuesday, starting with Ghost of a Tale. You are Tilo, a courageous minstrel mouse on a perilous...
That doesn't sound like
I
something
don't
I
want to
like.
be a mouse. No.
Also, like I said that other time, Moss says hi, just saying.
He did say that. I
think
remember him saying that.
has been delayed because I feel like we've talked about it before. The next one is the Caligula Effect Overdose. The ideal world created by the virtual doll Moo, who gained...
Is this a Muv-Luv?
It's not, but it's
ID Factory?
it's not, but it's. See, the thing is, this game wants to be Persona so bad, but it's not,
I see.
and it's like it has potential if it,
So it's like the other white meat of Persona.
because I mean, it has some cool ideas. Like the battle system is actually kind of cool if you like get into it. But it's like the aspects that they try to use for like the social aspects and stuff. It's like really weird and grindy. So it's like, yeah, I don't want to do that. Because I mean, on the one hand, it's like, oh, this is a cool idea because you can recruit like everybody in the game that exists because it's like. They're recruitable. The problem is they're all generic, and in order to do so, the aforementioned grinding and
Because when you said that, I was
and
like, oh, so it's like
stuff.
Suikoden, but then you're like, they're all generic. And you have to grind. I was like, oh,
Yes.
not
So-
Suikoden. Yeah.
Bob and Steve and George.
basically, and it's like that. It's like on paper, it's like, oh, this sounds like a cool idea, and then you actually play it, and it's like, oh, I see,
Mistakes were made.
lots of them. So I mean, I guess if you were to just stick to the main stuff, it may be okay. But I stopped playing, so I mean, I will never know unless I pick up Overdose, which I might because I'm a sucker for punishment.
An enthusiastic meh.
Basically, yes. I regret everything.
All right. This next one is called Rico. 2
is
cops,
that?
1 case, and only 24 hours to bust.
Sounds like a porn.
Wow. Well, I do like
Well, then we
police
got
stories,
plenty of
So
time.
I'm down.
but I'm curious on what the gameplay is.
Well, I just said it's a porn, so I mean,
It's not porn.
should know what that means.
Says first person action.
See? See? Basically a porn.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm interested.
I
We'll
mean,
see. Wait and see.
I mean, We'll see.
All right. Um, the wizards become a powerful wizard and take fate into your own.
Wow.
Hands,
Just
I'm guessing. But
goes from a very funny haha to super generic, just like that. Because
Just like
in the
that.
Wizards, you're a
Oh.
wizard that takes control of magic, I guess. But, thanks for telling me anything awesome that you could have told me about the game and not telling me. So, no.
But I like Magic though. What's the genre for this one?
Action adventure.
What console is this coming to? Is it a PS4?
It's PS4. Oh, all these are PS4.
Oh.
I'm not ready to branch out yet into looking up 20 to 30 games every week.
Hmm. Hmm. Interesting. Wizards.
Okay, and then the final one is Lego Marvel Collection. Lego Marvel Collection features 3 action-packed Lego Marvel games. Lego.
I'll buy it in a $5 flash sale because then I can finally get the Black Panther DLC since they never want to have it super cheap. So, yeah.
I'm impressed that they fit Lego 3 times in 10 words and Marvel 2 times.
Domo Domo.
I mean, I haven't played one of the Lego games in like forever, so yeah, probably not.
Cool. So it looks like Rico is kind of interesting. Devil May Cry, but that's mostly based on past history. And maybe the Wizards because it's action adventure. I don't know.
With magic.
Don't forget the Porn Police, Tropical G's.
Yes, that's Rico.
Oh, okay.
That's Rico.
I didn't even know what the name of the game was because, yeah, I could just remember the description.
Wow.
Oh dear.
Only so much time until you bust. What?
Yes.
I mean,
Prove that. My goodness. My goodness.
I mean,
Is it rated him? I must know now.
of course it is.
No way. It's at least T. I don't think it's him. I mean, it could be, though.
Could be. I'm not sure, actually.
Guess I'll find out.
Yeah, I guess we forgot our disclaimer last time. These are mostly for fun, not too informational. But no, I think we've upped the information a little bit. At least now we know who is pitching well and who is like wasting their words with preamble or titles that are too long.
It's true.
Guess what type of attacks Wizard use, guys? Magic. Oh.
Okay, let's go on to the middle segment about. It's a revisited topic. We talked about this before, where I brought up the idea that fanboys have more fun because they don't care that they're missing out on other stuff. They're just happy with their own console. Is this still the case? Now, like, times have changed. We're all basically single console players now. Do we still think that? I remember at the time, Tekken said that even though they don't care that they're missing out on stuff, they are missing out on stuff. And so if you only had, I believe it was a Wii U at the time, or maybe a Wii, then you're missing out on tons of PS3 and PS4 stuff, which was super amazing, like Uncharted and The Last of Us and The Walking Dead and all these things.
I would have to say I still agree with myself in what I said because just look at all of the Switch ports and it's like they had missed out on all that stuff and like to me it's just garbage because it's like old crap I've already played, so it's like I mean I already bought a Switch, so it's like this would not be appetizing to me if I was not already a Switch owner, but all the hordes of cult Nintendo fans of like, oh yes Nintendo forever can finally enjoy all these years old ports of games that I've already played. So you know. But they'll never know because it's like now they get to finally just stand in a waterfall and be like, we got the parts, guys. Finally, we've got the parts because we've got such a good install base and people want to get our money because money, dear boy, money. And here we've got Nintendo money now, yeah. Because look at our sales numbers. Everybody wants a piece of the pie. Whoa. And they don't
Delicious pie.
Especially people if they like haven't played Final Fantasy 7 or 9 or any of that like really old stuff that's getting imported. It's just like, wow, I'm sad for you. But hey, whenever you get to enjoy it now, have fun with the Zidane and company as they have that amazing adventure. It's such a good game. It's such a good game. And you're only playing it now, you fanboy.
I still think fanboys have more fun though, because they're happy. I think because they're happier with everything that they get on their own system. So even like games that other people would think are mediocre, they're enjoying the heck out of because
Crackdown 3, guys.
because
Woo!
they're fanboys. Yeah.
Game of the year. Yeah. Who cares about what they say about those God of War Detroit games on other platform? Meh.
I think it works better if you like ignore all of that entirely. Because can you miss out on something you didn't know existed?
No.
I mean, technically
generally
you
you
do.
would,
You just like you don't know
You
it,
would have known,
so
yeah.
it doesn't affect you. But especially now, like I feel like in the past, the opposite of fanboy was someone who played everything. But we've reached a point in games where I don't think anyone can play everything because there's so much. Like, is this the first console generation where you've only owned or basically only played one system?
Yeah. Because PS2, I tried to keep up with PS2 and GameCube, just to, like the Nintendo exclusives anyway. And like a lot of PS2 stuff, and then PS2 or PS3 360, I did a lot of back and forth on that one for sure. This one I'm just like, no way, dude. No way. And then like yeah, even like last year, like a lot of PC stuff too, but it's like I just am completely off that boat and just like only PS4. And then I like bought the Wii and I barely touched it, so yeah.
So you think are fanboys like, or does fanboy exist in a smaller capacity now than it used to then? Just because like
I don't know about
the
that.
opposite doesn't exist, really?
I don't know. That's an interesting question because like the paradigm of like how much Sony is winning is like that's a good question, but then it's like I don't think that's the case because it's like I think they still exist. It's just the disparity in between who is winning and who is losing is like it's like, would you like to try to trump me or do you want to just like deny all the evidence I'm going to present to you? It's one of those things.
I mean, well, yeah, I suppose because PS2
Because
existed
PS4
kind of
is just
before the internet.
Killing it with first party output this gen, so.
Yeah, so much.
And it's like, hey guys, remember all those games you canceled that were for that were first party? Because Scalebound and all the other stuff that doesn't exist. And then when it did come out, it's like, oh man, Crackdown 3, woo! Glad I didn't hedge my bets on that as a game to get my console for.
Can still cling to it though. Was it the legendary?
And I'll just be like, yeah, well, guess what?
Legendary 7.
Spider-Man and God of War both open world, just like that. Oh, and there's the Horizon, because, best game of the console generation, in my opinion, so, if you want to just keep on going with your little Crackdown defense force here, we can keep going all day, fanboy. This is really weird, hypothetical fanboy discussion with we're having right now. It's really weird.
I know.
I didn't know he was going to do that. That's weird.
Of course I was going to do that. I always do that. Yeah. So, even though games are kind of different, you think it's still sort of the same, and fanboys do not have more fun because they're missing out on so much stuff. What if you're a Sony fanboy? What if you're a PlayStation fanboy today?
Well, I'm sad because I'm not going to play Ninja Theory games or who else did Microsoft buy?
Like everyone.
They didn't buy everyone,
Obsidian.
Oh man, Obsidian, man. Yeah.
The other one that's like Obsidian.
Yes, the other WRPG developer that, and both are like better in like better straits than BioWare now, and it makes me sad. I'm like, if BioWare could have just stayed independent, this situation would not be a thing. You know, it's like, is it In Exile or is it somebody else?
Yeah, that sounds right actually. In Exile.
Ah, man, it's like the one developer that was making games like that actually play their games, and now they're just a singing chip. Whatever. At least their CD Projekt Red still out there. Don't F it up. Last hope. The last hope. So I even think I bought some of the Exile games, I just haven't played them.
Was Pillars of Eternity? No, they were Wasteland, right? Wasteland
2.
2, yeah.
Wait, who did make Pillars of Eternity things? I think I'm thinking of them.
I think that's Obsidian.
Wow. There you go. It doesn't matter because it's the other developer involved.
It's both of them. Obsidian and other Obsidian.
Yeah, and like the only, well, not the only, but like one of the few Western developers that can make anything close to a platinum tier adventure game, action game. Because DMC, oh my goodness, so good.
So, do you think you will get the next generation Xbox?
Well, maybe. I mean, I'm not gonna say no because it's like even if 360, not 360, Xbox One is super cheap, since they're like supposedly unveiling like the only streaming version, since they have that Games Pass or Xbox Game Pass thing where it's like, you know, it is like the streaming thingy feature situation. I would like to check it out because I do have a bunch of games I had on 360, so I would just have them and like put the disc in and be able to like just have access to them. So like, or the way they do the backwards compatibility thing, so that would be. Well, I guess if it's discless, it doesn't do that though. But I don't know. Eventually, when it's like super cheap and just like Wii priced, I wouldn't mind trying that.
Oh, the current one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, seeing how it goes, because it's like that, and then all these rumors about like the whole streaming digital only thing. It's like if it's just like a super cheap SKU, I could see myself picking it up just because it is like the way I like to play now. Where it's like I don't go to the store to buy anything. I just download it or stream it. So.
Huh. All right. Well, RPG, did you have anything to add on this?
I wasn't entirely sure about the question.
Do fanboys have more fun? Do fanboys even exist anymore? Since the opposite used to be people who play everything?
I mean, technically, fanboys would still have to exist to some degree. I guess it would just kind of depend on how we would be defining it now. Because, I mean, before, fanboys used to be just like these crazy fanatic people about like certain properties or franchises or whatever. And I mean, I'm pretty sure they still exist because there are people who are religiously like following certain things. But I mean, I guess it would depend. Like maybe they have more fun with their game, but not necessarily like, I guess, defending it or something, or defending their consoles, depending on, you know, the people who still defend their Xbox despite like not having like any major exclusives or anything like that. So, but I mean, if they already love what little they have, then can't really. I guess they do still have fun. I
guess it's another interesting thing you could like look at is the people who are fans of like development studios. Do those count as fanboys? Because I love me some. I mean, although all my favorites are dying, you know, it's, you know, I will always be a fan until the end.
Yeah, you don't. I guess. Well, maybe because we have so much more to play now that we just see less game news and like games writing and in related to that, like fewer game comments. So I don't seem to see people talking about fanboys as much in as like during the PS3 360 era. Part of me thinks that's because PlayStation is way ahead, and so there's not really anything to talk about. Where it was like very heated last generation. Yeah, I think also part of it is like back in the day, there was talk that most people who are doing these fanboy type arguments aren't actually playing anything. They're mostly just spending their time reading game news and arguing about it. And if you're doing that today, you're missing a lot more games than you were missing back then, because there's just so many more games coming out now. So the people who are actually playing don't have time to go and argue. So in that sense, like sort of the toxic fanboy maybe still exists, but they aren't playing games. And then it's like borderline conditional toxic fanboys are too busy actually playing games to actually be talking about it. And then I don't know what are the good fanboys? The ones who weren't the arguing ones? They just like really liked, or I guess then they would just be fans. The fans are having the most fun, or I think they are, because they just like
an accurate statement.
Yeah, they play their one thing and they're not worried about the stuff that they're missing, because they derive so much more enjoyment from the one thing that they already enjoy so much. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I agree. I think the fans are having the most fun this console generation. Or at least
The fans are having the most fun.
For now.
I mean, especially if you're a fan of games as a service, because then you're always playing it, and it's like, I'm not
I know.
playing anything else. It's great.
Just the one game.
And it's like, oh, you're like, oh, well, this is on sale now because I've been playing the other game for so long, so I'll just get it now that it's cheap. And it's like, oh, that was how convenient. Huh. It's like it was a plan or something.
Cool. Well, if we have nothing else to add on this, then we do not? Do we? No? Nothing?
Not really.
All right. Then we can do the news. News. Okay. First up, Tetris 99 is having their first tournament in-game event called the Maximus Cup. Whereas in the US, they will be awarding the top 999 players with 999 My Nintendo Gold points each, which is roughly equivalent to $10 on the eShop.
That seems so paltry.
I'm about to say that sounds all for the sake of the
I'm a world-class top 1% Tetris player. I won $10 on the eShop. It's like, what?
Yes!
It sounded so much more impressive when it was just
So yeah, if you're super good at Tetris and you want to,
and you can't get $10 the normal way, I guess.
Then this is happening between March 8th and March 10th. Get as many wins as you can within those 2 days, and yeah, you could be the proud owner of $10.
Could be a $10 heir. And not actually real $10. It's just on the eShop. So I mean, whatever that can get you, enjoy, I guess. I mean, that was just. I Video games.
Awesome. I guess a few weeks ago there was a press event for Days Gone. So there are numerous new impressions of Days Gone going up everywhere based on hands-on time that journalists got. They got to play multiple hours. So yeah, go check those out. Apparently, like it sounds like people think it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's like it's funny because I didn't read any of the articles. I just saw the headlines. I was like, okay, good, because I'm gonna buy it anyway. So good to know that it is not terrible, or people don't
Yeah.
are as not worried anymore as they were before.
Yeah, people were pretty unsure about what the game was going to be like. And now that they've actually tried it, it seems like most people think it's really fun. They're not sure if it'll, like, that fun can last 30 hours or so, but in the 5 or 6 hours or more that people have played it already, they seem like
I mean,
they're
is the
enjoying
game
it,
gonna be 30 hours or?
I don't know. Maybe. I guess they did not specify. It seems pretty cool though. One of the things I read was they've created this ecosystem, and they sort of mentioned this before, but people got to see it where like every enemy type attacks every other enemy type, and you can like use that. So if there's like a freaker bear, you can set it against a freaker horde, or you can like unleash a freaker horde on a enemy human encampment, and like all this sort of neat stuff that the like AI things that all the enemies have. It's like, oh, that
sounds
pretty
fun.
neat. There's going to be lots of sort of emergent strategies and things like that, so it should be pretty cool. So you may have heard that a game that was coming to test Steam's new anything goes policy was coming out. A game called Rape Day.
I did not hear about that.
You did not hear about this one.
I saw the story and I was like, did I miss something?
Yeah, so a while back there was like a school shooting game that like was going to be listed on Steam, and that I forget the sequence of events specifically, but it resulted in Steam basically saying anything goes. We will allow anything on Steam as long as it's not illegal or straight up trolling. And that's still really vague, but it kind of seemed like, okay, they're just going to let everything on Steam. And these people made Rape Day. I don't remember the developer's name.
To test their theory, I guess.
It kind of feels like it. Although, if they were doing that, then isn't this a straight up troll? But I don't know. Like the game is basically you play as a serial rapist in the zombie apocalypse.
What?
And you can like run around and like rape whoever you want. I don't know. It's just like
But
very
apparently-
extreme.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, because like from what I've read, like apparently they also develop these scenarios where it kind of plays out as like a choose your own adventure type deal too.
I think that's
So it's
the
like-
type of game it was
Oh,
or is.
Yeah, because I
It's
mean
like
they
choose your own adventure. You can decide who, and yeah, it's pretty
it's
messed
like-
up.
but then there was like comments on, because it's like I guess there was another game about like I guess like sexy girls or something that actually got delisted or wasn't allowed to be listed because they were like the content was too the content was against some policy or whatever, and then like somebody commented and it's like, but there's a game about raping people in the apocalypse and you're just gonna, and that's okay. So it's like it's so I mean I don't know if it's like, I don't know how that's gonna go, because it's like, well, if you said anything goes, but then you're like picking and choosing who's allowed to do these things, and then it's like you let games like that kind of fly. That, I mean, I just
There's a lot of questions. Like
There's
Steam there's been an issue with Steam for a while For example, like there was a lot of visual novel, like Japanese anime style
yeah.
visual novel, like Loves, essentially, but like more explicit Loves
So
than
basically,
the
porn.
Loves that we're usually talking about, and a lot of them were banned on Steam for what seems like arbitrary reasons. Because, like, well, hang on, like you got The Witcher.
We
The
couldn't say they
Witcher
were too
contains stuff
sexy.
like this, or you got stuff like Grand Theft Auto, and like they contain basically these types of scenarios, except they're from giant publishers. Is that the reason? Like the indie ones can't do it, but like the big ones can. And then yeah, then there's like like they really do seem like trolley games. Like there was the one. It was like mass shooting type games and stuff, and those seemed to be okay. And so yeah, like it was always vague which ones were okay and which ones weren't. And then they came out and said, all right, basically everything goes, unless these things, which made it vague again. So I just wasn't sure if anything had changed. And then yeah, there's just lots of different stuff. Well, today Steam has decided not to distribute the game, and it's been delisted on Steam. In their statement, they said that they respect the developers' desire to express themselves, and the purpose of Steam is to help developers find an audience. But this developer has chosen content matter and a way of representing it that makes it very difficult for us to help them do that.
Nah, bro. You just be like, nah, this nasty. We ain't doing it.
Yeah, the decision was because after significant fact-finding and discussion, we think Rape Day poses unknown costs and risks, and therefore won't be on Steam.
I.e., the internet got pissed, and we ain't about that life. So we gotta say it's a no from me, dog.
This is probably like one instance where Epic Game Store wouldn't get itself in some sort of trouble the way Steam would, because it's not had enough time to like get to the point where it tries to be such an open platform for people, to where it's like they get all these kerfluffles like this, because like Epic will probably just have like a more closed system where it's like people that are not, just anybody trying to put their code in the game,
and also it's just like,
yeah,
you got to draw the line. Like there's just, I mean, like, come on, like I don't like
I feel like
it's understandable that you want to. It's understandable that you want to, like, I guess, like, help indie developers and all this stuff, but it's like at the same time, it's like, come on, you know things are going to trigger people. Like there's certain things where you know not to cross that line, so there's like zero excuse for it. But I just, as long as there's a system, there's someone going to be trying to break it. So there's always someone.
Yeah, I feel like Steam is. They're doing the nice thing. Like they're giving us the nice thing and allowing everyone to make whatever they want. Like that's the nice thing. But then people come in and show us why we can't have the nice thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
people just want to watch the world burn.
It's kind of just like in like Little Big Planet and Dreams. Eventually, it's like people will make something where it's like, this is not acceptable.
Yeah,
a bunch of penises everywhere, basically, and then
it's like, sorry,
the usual stuff. The usual stuff.
Known beforehand, but we will just, use our banhammer because sometimes people are just stupid. So, yeah.
God dang it, people! Let us have the nice thing.
No,
don't push it. Then we can't have the nice thing.
Some people always push a tropical. They're called provocateurs.
Like
Some of the arguments in this one were like, it's like, oh, Rape Day, like, what's wrong with that? Like, the store is filled with violent games,
but
this one is violent? And I was just like, well, the thing is, like, there are no murder survivors playing games that involve murder.
Well, I mean,
there are no murder victims playing. Like, if you're murdered, then that's
you're kind of dead.
Yeah.
So, you can't be offended by content because you don't exist at the moment. However, there are many people who have survived rape and sexual assault and things of that nature, and obviously they don't want to see content about it posted all over the place because, kind of a traumatic experience. So,
And
yeah.
there's also like, war survivors. And then we have a ton of war games.
Yeah, but I mean, I mean,
It's complicated. I think in a world that had no history, if no one had long-term memory, then everything would be okay.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think that's true.
Kind of, well, like fantasy-wise, not actual
I don't know.
actual
I don't
act.
think it's about memory. I think it's just a matter of taste and like what you're like what you think is acceptable and not acceptable.
Hmm.
Because it's like I don't think anybody would make like some sort of like Holocaust survivor experience where it's like you're a Jew in the Holocaust getting murdered by Nazis or something stupid. It's just like
Oh,
it's
dear.
it doesn't it you don't have to go that far to be like, is this okay, is this not okay, like the line of like what is acceptable and not acceptable. It's like it shouldn't be that, like it's a basic thing that should not be shouldn't be easily misunderstood by like anybody.
Hmm.
And it's like if you want to like try to push the line or push the boundaries, then be prepared to have your game delisted. Simple as that.
Steam is not the government. All right. So moving on from that one, this one Tekken briefly mentioned earlier. According to Windows Central sources, a new Xbox One S is coming, called the Xbox One S All Digital Edition.
Oh, God.
Could receive a near global simultaneous launch early May, with pre-orders expected to open mid-April. So this is the one that was rumored earlier under the codename Maverick, and it's supposed to be near identical internals to the Xbox One S, minus the disk drive, and supposedly going for less than $200. So it's supposed to be a cheap way for people to get in and have access to things like Xbox Game Pass, which is $10 a month. So if this is like, I think it's got to be pretty cheap, because Xbox One S, there were times where you could buy one for $150. It hasn't been that cheap recently, but like I have a friend who got one for that cheap, during one of the Black Fridays. And so if this is going to be a cheap Xbox One S that asks people to live without a drive and like subsist entirely on digital stuff, then yeah, it's got to be pretty cheap. How much is Xbox One S now?
No
Is
idea.
it 200?
I
200,
haven't
250?
been trying to buy one, so I haven't looked.
Yeah, I'm not really sure either. But still, this is gonna be pretty cheap. If it is cheap enough, though, like that seems like a pretty good deal. Xbox Game Pass is pretty generous. Comes with a bunch of new games as well as older ones. And it would be better than using it on an old laptop, which is what I've been doing. Oh yeah, I played a little bit of Crackdown 3. Very, very low resolution, but it's playable. It's just like, all right, it's kind of interesting. This next story was something that came out of Nintendo Dream Magazine. It's a Japanese magazine. Sakurai experienced symptoms akin to food poisoning while making Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And he said, I just get an IV drip and go to work like normal.
That's nuts.
Dedication.
And people the fans freaked out. Is like, really? He's just like, this man is killing himself to make this game.
Like,
Yeah, apparently last year he's like, oh, I took some vacation last year for 3 days.
that's not a vacation. That's having a normal time
trying
off.
to change my work-life balance to ensure I always leave the office by 10 p.m. And he said, I don't think I can take a lot of time off around the holidays, though. We're still developing our DLC, so my staff would have to handle my share of the work. We're releasing Joker soon, and they wouldn't be able to consult with me on him. So yeah, he's working a lot, maybe too much.
Oh, it kind of sounds like it.
I'm just like imagining him sitting at his desk with an IV drip.
Right? And it's like he's just typing away like,
It's cool.
this is fine. This is fine.
It's before 10 p.m. We're fine.
Gotta make the deadlines.
Insane. But dedicated? Eh? No, that's probably too much. Apex Legends, the new battle royale from Respawn, is now at 50 million players.
Oh my.
In just 4 weeks since release, which is pretty crazy. In contrast, it took Fortnite 16 weeks to reach 45 million players. I guess as more and more Battle Royale games come out, there's just like a larger and larger audience that is ready to jump and check out the next one.
Mm-hmm. And they're free, so it's not like you have to spend any money. Just saying.
Yeah. Every time a new one comes out, there's like very little risk, and you just like, oh, we'll go check this one out and see what's going on. Also, Twitch streaming is like something that more and more people want to do, and one way to get ahead is like jump onto the new game, and if it's free, then all the better.
I've also
in.
been seeing things like allegedly that like Apex was like paying big time streamers to like play the game. Is that true? There you go.
They made a pretty big push on just like getting streamers to play it so that like it's just out there everywhere.
Chasing that Fortnite money.
Everybody's doing it.
I don't know if they're gonna make the money, but they're getting lots of players.
Well, you've played it, right?
I have. It is pretty fun. It's like different enough. So it doesn't seem like completely chasing that Fortnite money. I mean, they are, but it doesn't seem like they were just like, okay, Fortnite's out. Let's make a thing like that.
Do that.
Yeah, apparently there was a story this week. A Redditor by the name of Hit Iconic posted last April a leaked map for a Titanfall Battle Royale game. And nobody believed him.
That's funny.
I mean, he didn't add any context or a headline or anything like that. It was just like the map. And it's like, oh, Battle Royale, like Titanfall Battle Royale game in the works. And like people didn't believe him.
Yeah,
and the worst were like, oh, I hope this doesn't happen. And yeah, looking at it today, that was the real map. He posted it. He posted it last April, and then 11 months later, it happened. And now people are like, "Oh, whoopsie."
I'll buy it.
I was like, "I hope it didn't happen. I hope this doesn't happen." It's like, "Oh, I was totally wrong. Like the game is super fun." Dissidia Final Fantasy NT Free Edition is a free-to-play version of Dissidia Final Fantasy NT coming out really soon, the 12th, actually. It will cycle through a roster of free characters weekly, and you'll be able to play with people who bought the full version as well. So I guess maybe player numbers are dwindling, and because you need people playing to have online multiplayer, this is a way to get more players, maybe? They're also going to sell characters and cosmetics, so there's that microtransaction money too.
Well, over there, there's free-to-play. Microtransactions are never far behind.
Yes, they are not.
That Fortnite money, says I.
I thought this was kind of amusing. I don't know if that's the right word. I'm just going to read it. So Activision laid off 8% of their workforce, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then they filed paperwork in which they described potential blowback. So they said the implementation of this restructuring plan may also be costly and disruptive to our business or have other negative consequences, such as attrition beyond our planned reduction in workforce. So, like, some people get fired and then the rest, their friends or whatever, leave with them, or negative impacts on employee morale and productivity. Yeah, probably. Or on our ability to attract and retain highly skilled employees.
Don't say.
Yeah, that was amusing, right? I was just like, they are self-aware, and yet they did it anyway. Terrible. There were a lot of layoffs at multiple different places since then. ArenaNet laid off people. GOG laid off people. Ubisoft did really well and laid off no people. Activision, though, did really well and laid off a bunch of people. Should not forget that. In
The
other
best
Activision
ever.
ever.
Most money ever. And it's not good enough because they want all the money. All the time. Money, dear boy, money.
Money.
No ching ching, no bling bling.
Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 Campaign Remastered was spotted on the Peggy site before it was quickly taken down, so that is probably coming. What would you think if the next main Call of Duty game only had multiplayer as well, but they gave you Modern Warfare 2 campaign as like the consolation single player stuff? Do you think that's a good value proposition?
What do you mean by consolation, Tropical?
So, people were disappointed that Black Ops 4 had no single player. What if the next one has no single player, but it comes with Modern Warfare 2 campaign remastered? Like, that's your single player.
Tropical, that sounds like a full-priced game when it came out. Or that's what it was when it came out the first time. The campaign and the multiplayer. Like, how is that, like, why would that be weird?
No, what I'm saying is, like, the next game, let's say it's Black Ops 5. I mean, it's not going to be, but let's say it's Black Ops 5 this year, and it has no single-player campaign. And so instead of making a new single-player campaign, they just include Modern Warfare 2's campaign.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Put that in one package. I was like, see, it has single-player stuff.
No, not acceptable. Because that's already existing assets that they just HDified.
All right. Yeah, I'm like...
nice, new, and shiny like that multiplayer garbage that they're putting out, so no.
Modern Warfare Remastered 1, or 1 Remastered, was remastered to the point that it did seem like a current generation title. So even if they did that with the second one, that's not enough.
Nope.
Cool. Well, I don't know. They're probably not going to do it that way. They're probably going to charge extra to get the Modern Warfare 2 campaign, and then who knows if there will be a campaign for this year's Call of Duty. The Ace Attorney trilogy, which was originally on DS, is coming out on PS4. Those are the first 3 games, I think, for $29.99. Coming out April 9th. It's not bad. I lost my first one. I have the second one and the third one. I can't find the first one. So...
Lost to the ether.
Yeah, somewhere. Probably in one of the moves. But now I can have all of them again in HD, which they don't look that great, actually. They looked better on the DS screen.
Because they weren't meant. They weren't meant for that type of stuff.
It's too big. It's not detailed enough for such a big screen.
Yeah. Because they only use sprites and stuff, so it's like...
They should have like a low-res mode for like games that get ported that weren't meant to be HD-ified. like Link's Awakening. It's like, instead of just like completely remaking it, it's like maybe they should just have some sort of like, you know, low-res awesomeness version. That's not like, this is not even the game that this is based off of.
Yeah. Because I mean, like the later Phoenix Wright games they have like 3D models and stuff, so it would make more sense because they can make those sharper and everything, and they have different gameplay mechanics and stuff. But the original games just have like the court modes and the sprites, and it's like, does it necessarily require things unless you're remaking everything? So it's like, yeah.
Finally, Nintendo has apparently been talking to their partners making mobile games for them and telling them to dial down microtransactions.
I mean...
That's a good one.
Nintendo doesn't want people overspending on their mobile games.
That is too much. I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say. It's
apparently... Like... One of the developers was like, yeah, like Nintendo tells us stuff like that. If we were managing it alone, we would be making way more money.
I don't even know what to say to that. It's like they got in the dirt with the fleas or whatever vermin you'd like to use this analogy, and they just like are like, hey dudes, we didn't want it to be this way, and it's like, that's the way it is, Nintendo. You didn't know this was a dirty way that the evil people make the money. Microtransactions and all this other thing is up the wazoo in their free-to-play games. You didn't know that? You just didn't take the time to like lick your finger and like stick it in the air and be like, oh, how's the industry doing? People doing stuff and making money out here. And just jumped in like, oh, we can be benevolent and not like that. No, it's not how it works, Nintendo. That's not how it works, man. You've tainted yourself. Well, you don't even know it. You don't even know it.
It's kind of working. It's kind of working. Like, they don't do quite as many microtransactions as other developers. Like, yeah. Like, the quote, the guy's like, we'd be making way more if we weren't listening to Nintendo. Yeah, I guess the speculation is that, well, one, like, Nintendo has always sort of been the friendly face of the games industry, and they don't want to be associated with, like, you know...
Gambling.
The stuff. And also, since the beginning, Nintendo has had, like, their strategy with mobile is not so much we're going to make a bunch of money on mobile. It's that the hope is they will introduce their franchises and IP to, like, people on mobile. And then those people will be like, oh, cool, I'm going to buy a Switch to get more of this.
Also, that is so, like, I'm playing this game on my however many hundreds of dollars phone. I should probably spend hundreds of dollars more to get some Switch that's like an inferior device, but hey, you know.
It's only a fraction of the hundreds of dollars. It's a smaller number of hundreds of dollars.
Like, take the time that I'm using when I'm on my phone to do whatever the F and, like, not be able to do it on the Switch. Yeah. Phase 3 profit, Nintendo. Phase 3 profit. This is kind of like the time when they, like, made all that money off the Virtual Console. They're like, we don't even know if it's a lot, but we put our games up for download and we make millions, so... Is that a lot? Don't know. but it's making money. So maybe we should do it a long time ago. Whatever. And then they killed it because they're jerks.
Poisoning the ocean. Yeah, that is all the news that I had for this week. Was there any stuff that you guys saw?
No, not that I can think of off the top of my head right now. No.
RPG?
Not that I can think of. Maybe stuff in there. Wait. No. Wait. Did we podcast last week?
No.
So
Yeah,
that
we
means-
did.
No,
Did we?
No.
We didn't?
No.
Oh.
Because then that means because we missed the Pokemon reveal, right? For
No, we talked
No,
about it.
we talked about
the week
that.
before.
That was last week then.
I don't remember.
I
I
could
get
have sworn we
confused.
didn't podcast recently. I don't know when it was, but we.
I think it was the week before that.
Oh, maybe that's what it was. Because I was confused. I was like, wait, did we? No, I'm pretty sure we did. Cool. Just making sure. Enjoy.
Are you still on Team Fire Rapid RPG?
Of course, I'm still on Team Fire Rabbit. What kind of question is that?
Just making sure. Seen a lot of memes.
Score bunny for the win.
Cool. Anyways, check us out, aimlesspodcast.com. Download the podcast there. Otherwise, also on many other podcast type places. And then YouTube and Twitch. We stream this thing. If you saw it, thank you for hanging out. And then follow us on Twitter.
You know, I keep thinking about this whole controversial game thing. It's like it could be its own genre because it's like, you know, you would already know what you're getting into. But then on the other hand, I'm like, it shouldn't exist because it's like, do you really want like games like, you know, Rape Simulator or Holocaust Simulator or Slave Ship Adventures or whatever offensive controversial thing you would like to think up and like put in a game to exist? Because you know that's what you're going to get. Steam, no rules or whatever. What's it called, Tropical?
Steam After Dark.
Steam doing whatever the F we want to, because whatever, dude. I'm Gabe Newell, and we don't make games anymore. We just put out this thing, and it makes money for us. So, an Epic Game Store came along, and maybe it'll change things, maybe it won't. But you know, that's what you're in for, your Epic Game Store. If you're gonna open it up to the crazies out there, and they're like, oh, I just made this game because I wanted to make a statement, or you know, I felt like this wasn't represented, and blah 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 blah, whatever stupid reason. That's what you're getting. So yeah. Kind of want to be Aimless there, or whatever. But yeah, like Tropical said, check us out. Aimless Podcast, blah, 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 Twitter, Facebook, blah, 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 Internet, blah, blah, blah. Anything you want to say before you sign off, RPG?
Fire Bunny.
Anything to say before we sign off? Or anything you want to say before we sign off, Tropical?
Nope.
Alright, well, I have enjoyed actually playing through games for the last however many weeks in my, Destinycation. So, you know, I'm gonna keep it going until, you know, as long as it goes. I'm eventually gonna return though, because, you know, I do want to see what this whole drifter situation is. But it, you know, we all know it won't take that long, so it's like whatever. I mean, but it will because it's Destiny, so whatever. But yeah, you know, thanks for listening, like Tropical said. So, you know, until you see or hear from us again, Aimless Babble Z, and we're now signing